My name is Martin Barnsdale. I've been making ceramics for about 40 years now, and my principal interest in the ceramics has been making glazes from local materials. And so already in England I was using tree ashes, and now, since living in France, I concentrate on plant ashes, and notably hay ash, which contains some silica, which is after all the main material which supplies the glass to glazes. And today I'm going to show you how I make a lidded box which will be glazed with these glazes afterwards. So the first thing I'm going to do is to cut the sides of the box. That's the first thing that needs to be assembled, and I'm going to cut a straight edge here to give me a start. Okay, that's okay, like this. I like to use a system of proportion from a person called Fibonacci. En fait, it's a system of proportion that starts with 1, and 1 and 1 makes 2, and 2 and 1 makes 3, and so it goes on to infinity. So today I'm going to choose 13. 13 is the in the system of Fibonacci, but I need to think about the thickness of the clay as well. So each of my sides are going to be 12.5 centimeters long, like this. There as well. Well, that will give me 2 in that piece there, and it's going to be eventually 13 high. So let's do that. So I have to remember that 13 high for the wall will be 12, because I'll have the bottom and the top to stick on afterwards. So now I'm going to mark a small arrow so I know which sense it should be in. Next phase is to curve the walls. Oh, why do I do that? Simply because I've noticed from experience that if I make slab pots straight, they have a tendency to warp, and the curve just stops that. Now I can start assembling the walls. Okay, so I need to just put some slip onto one side only. I don't need to do it on both. Really quite generously. And I can now glue the 2 other faces. Make sure it's more or less lined up, like that. Now I'm going to give it a squeeze. This joint is okay because the slip has come out both sides along the entire length of the joint. So I've wiped the outside. Now I just need to do this here and clean it up a bit. Okay, I'll just check that it's vertical. The set square is very useful in this case. So now I can join up the walls with the other 2 sides to my previous construction. And there I'm just going to check. That's it. So I need here. So I need to just compress the joint together, and I like to use the set square where possible, because I can put a lot of pressure onto the, either with the tool or the finger, whichever's the more practical, and it has the advantage of forcing the clay tight into the joint. So I just give it a clean up, because as you can see, the thickness of the wool, which was cut vertically, is sticking out a little bit. Okay, so now we're ready to prepare for sticking the base onto our walls. So I have to get the size. What I do to begin with is to cut it bigger than I need it. I can always trim it off afterwards. So I just go around with the margin. So now we can just turn this up and place it. The next thing I have to do is to make sure it's really well stuck to the base, and so I use just a bat with a hole in it so the air doesn't get trapped inside, and I just push hard. Before I clean up the inside, I'm going to turn it over and just run my finger, or this roller, this is a good thing for getting even pressure around the joint. It's a sort of double check. Then I'm going to clean out the joint inside. Just run this wooden tool around, and whatever remains behind I'll take out with my finger. So the next thing to do is to just trim off here. I can just run around it roughly here, can't, like in this way. So I'm going to turn it over so I can just finish it off. I keep a finger on the corner there, because if I don't, the risk is when I arrive at the end of the cut, it just breaks the corners off. Do some smoothing off at the same time, why not? Whilst it's in that position. So now I'm ready to do the final piece. That's which will be the cover of the lid. So I need to bevel this because I'm going to do a curved slab, slightly curved here. So I'm just going to go around the wall, just beveling off a bit so it's ready for a small curved top. Now I need to curve this in both directions, in fact, because I want it to be convex. So I'll just try and centre up the lid as best as possible. Just okay, about like that. Okay. So after that, I just take my roller and I just make sure it's well sealed on. Here as well, I keep a finger on the corner so as it doesn't break off. The sides, make sure there's no more excess clay there. I usually use this as this magic tool. It's quite important to maybe not to come right to the corner with this, because the risk of breaking off a piece there is quite. So now this is stiffened up a bit, I can start cutting for the lid. Usually, because the scoring is quite deep, it's quite easy to run around. Around. So I'm going to put a mark on here to know which way around the lid should be. So I just need to clean up the burr. So the next thing I do is to create the gallery. I need to cut off strips which will be glued around here. Well, just a point about these strips. One side is beveled and the other side is vertical. That's simply because I'm going to glue them in like that with the bevel downwards. It allows me to clean out this excess slip here afterwards, and it makes for a nicer finish for the box as well. Okay, so now I need to go around the corners, round them off a bit, because corners are always, when they're too sharp, they just stop the lid from seating properly. And also it will seal up the joint between the strips. So I usually just turn it round like that. The barbotin comes out, it's nicely rounded off. Okay, there my traces. And it might well be a little bit tight. And it's a bit tight. So I have two options open to me. I can take off here and I can take off here. So I'm going to start with this because I know it's a little bit better to be beveled here. The last thing to do before sticking on the legs is to put a little or a double button here and here, which will be decorative, and at the same time we'll give a positioning for the like that, positioning for the lid. Just a little ball of clay which we just stick on there and there, like this. There it is. I could leave it like that, but I rather like lifting work up from the floor. It gives another dimension. It gives it a kind of Aryan feeling to it. So I extrude with the extruders, and I cut like that to follow the cone shape. That's one. And here. So I'm going to use this as a mask to provide a pattern in the glaze. There'll be two glazes. There'll be a red glaze, an iron red glaze, and after that I'll be spraying over my hay ash glaze. So first of all, I just place it on. I just try to arrange it in a way which I find interesting. A bit messy, but so here's the finished box after its final firing, and we can see the trace of the decoration there, the netting that I used in the spraying system, and so there you are. And well, I think it's come out just how I like it. It's quite subtle. The decoration is a little bit fuzzy, and well, it's a nice box.